What's up, guys? It's Techno Viking 23 coming to you today with a bit of kind of a gaming news commentary ramble session. I usually like to do these on Friday. If I don't do an old school gaming Friday, I usually will talk about some gaming news and what's out there, and what games are interesting to me and what I'm looking forward to. So first thing I want to talk about was didn't get to address this earlier this week because I was doing my Mass Effect solo series, so I was kind of involved with that. But we did get a new cinematic trailer for Halo 5 Guardians this week, and I don't know if you guys have seen it yet or not, but it was freaking amazing. Really trying not to get hyped for Halo 5. I'm definitely looking forward to the game, but again, 343's had a lot of issues with Halo in the past couple of years, so I'm still waiting to see if they're going to get this one right. I really hope they are, because so far, as I've said many times, 343 seems to be one of those last few companies who is willing to admit they screwed things up. They're willing to try to make amends for things. But they still managed to screw things up in the first place. Master Chief Collection, obviously. A lot of people didn't really care for Halo 4 and all kinds of things. So they've had kind of a rough go of it with the Halo community, especially the old school Halo fans. But I am looking forward to Halo 5. I hope it's going to be a good game. And from what we've seen so far of the gameplay and what's been revealed, I think it is going to be pretty good. Now, I personally did not care for the multiplayer when I did take part in the beta, but I will say this, it played very smooth and very fast, and the 60 frames per second definitely is going to make a huge difference, and I think it's going to make a lot of older gen and 30 FPS games feel kind of slow and clunky. It felt a lot smoother than Destiny and Titanfall, which to me are two of the better games in terms of PvP, in terms of gunplay and game flow, and just how smooth it runs. It felt a lot better than both of those, and I thought that was pretty impressive. Didn't really care for the multiplayer, presentation though. Quite honestly, I know they're trying to get back to older Halo roots with some of the ways they're doing the multiplayer, but it still felt too much like Call of Duty, Titanfall, and those kind of games to me. It just doesn't feel like Halo anymore, and that's for some of the older Halo fans. I think that is an issue that we are concerned with, but. Besides that, I actually think the multiplayer mode, Warzone, looks really, really good. And I think that part of it's sort of PvP slash co-op, where you're going to be on a team fighting against another team of Spartans and also fighting against some PvE enemies that are thrown in for good measure. That looks really awesome. That looks like it's going to be this kind of big sandbox, PvP mode, sort of like the old big team battles used to be with Halo, with a lot more added in, a lot more fun. Looks like it's going to be pretty amazing. That's one of the things I am really looking forward to with Halo 5 to see how that turns out. And but anyways, we got this awesome new cinematic trailer which actually shows Spartan Locke's Team Osiris dropping out of a Pelican, and they're doing a free fall drop in their Spartan armor, almost like the ODSTs do. And if you guys played Halo ODST, when they drop out in their little pods, but the Spartans apparently don't need pods; they just use their armor, and it's pretty awesome. Cinematic trailer. They drop down on this planet and they go and they just are just destroying Covenant left and right. Now, obviously, this is not what the gameplay is going to look like, but as a cinematic trailer, if the cutscenes and things in the game are going to be of the same quality, I think we're in for a real treat. Now, some interesting tidbits from this trailer. I thought, first of all, we get to see Buck as a Spartan 4, which was actually really cool. Buck was obviously the hero of Halo ODSTs, one of the cooler non-Spartan characters in the game, and I think it's great that he finally kind of gets to be that Spartan and just go to that next level, so to speak, because he was already awesome, but now that he's a Spartan 4, and you guys have heard me talk a lot of times, I'm not a huge fan of the Spartan 4s as they were presented in Halo 4. They were kind of too loud and brash and annoying, and they acted like a bunch of college frat boys having a good old time, and from the prior 8 or 9 years of Halo, Spartans were more of this like really serious, kind of silent, strong warrior, very stoic and noble, and then you got the Spartan 4s with Halo 4, and if you played Spartan Ops, I'm sure you got sick of Spartan Miller crying like a little baby, hiding up in his little ops room up in the ship while he's yelling at you to do things, and they were so aggravating in that game, and just did not care at all for them. But it appears so far, they do show Locke's team in the Pelican getting ready to drop. It shows all the new Spartan, Buck is there, and the other the two new female Spartans who look pretty cool. Their armor looks pretty neat. They're all having kind of a chat about the mission, and it seems like they're much more reserved, much more serious type characters now, which I think is great because I really thought 343 got away from what it meant to be a Spartan, and it was like being a Spartan was kind of special. You were like this, humanity's last hope, so to speak. You were this very stoic, noble warrior, and it just didn't feel like that in Halo 4 when you're playing Spartan Ops, when you're dealing with the Spartan 4s and the cutscenes. They felt very disrespectful, like even towards Chief in the game and things like that. But it looks like their 343 is kind of changing that. Everything I've seen so far on Halo 5, the Spartan 4s seem to be a lot more serious and just a lot less annoying. So I really, actually, I'm not a fan of Spartan Locke from the TV show and just from in general the trailers and stuff they've shown. But this trailer was pretty good. He was actually a little bit more likable of a character, and obviously Buck is a very likable character, and the other two Spartans that were there with him were also pretty cool. So really kind of a great look at it. And some other tidbits we got from this trailer, we got to see Lasky was in it, also Commander Palmer and Dr. Halsey and Jewel M. Dama. If you guys played Halo 4 and went through Spartan Ops, there was this big thing with Halsey trying to get some Forerunner information and researching the Forerunners, and she actually teamed up with the Covenant for a little while to get some secret information. And when the UNSC found out, they ordered for her to be assassinated, and Commander Palmer spent like half the end of Spartan Ops trying to kill Dr. Halsey, who then went with the Covenant and was kidnapped by Jewel Dama. She did get shot at the end. She lost one of her arms, and she's been apparently with the Covenant ever since. So that's something that we were all wondering if that was going to be tied up in Halo 5. My theory that I had at the end, when the Halo 5 stuff first started coming out, was that obviously Chief has lost Cortana, and I figured at some point he was going to try to find Dr. Halsey to see if he could get Cortana back, and I figured he and Halsey would wind up teaming up together to take on the new Forerunner threat that is going to be in Halo 5. So there is a little bit of teasing at the beginning. They talk about there's been these Forerunner attacks on humanity and other places, and that Dr. Halsey has reached out to the UNSC and has said she is willing to help them out to try to thwart these attacks and figure out what's going on. So the mission that Locke and his team are on at the beginning is to go down to the planet and actually sort of rescue Dr. Halsey from Jewel M. Dama. And you also see Commander Palmer on there, and she talks about how if they see him, they need to kill him. He's he's one of the primary targets. So pretty cool. We got some interesting things that are going to kind of tie up the ends of Halo 4 and Spartan Ops, if you guys played through Spartan Ops. And I also wonder if since we did see Commander Palmer and some of this, if maybe we are going to see some more stuff with Infinity, like a Spartan Ops mode in this game. Now, 343 has said there's not going to be like Spartan Ops 2 or anything with Halo 5 so far, but you never know. They could add it in down the road. I really think they should, because Spartan Ops to me was one of the better reasons that Halo 4 had so much replayability. While a lot of people didn't care for the campaign, I personally thought the campaign was really good. I didn't mind the story. I thought it was pretty good at the end. I thought Halo 4 actually would have been a great ending point for Chief's story, with Cortana dying, of course. Major spoiler there if you guys haven't played Halo 4, but it's been out for 3 years, so most of you guys should know that by now. I thought they could have taken Spartan Ops, honestly, and made that the go-ahead as for Halo in the future, and they could have just made it about you being your own Spartan, customizable Spartan, like you could do in Reach, and just having you go around the galaxy and solve all the problems and things with a squad of other people. I actually made a video about how Halo could refresh the franchise a little bit. I never posted it because when I went back and listened to it, I didn't like the way it sounded. And what I do when I make my videos, I normally will make them and then I'll listen to them afterwards. If I don't like the way it sounds, I'll usually just delete it and start over. But I never got back to this one. But I was talking about how I thought it would be interesting for them to improve the Halo series in general by going to more of a squad-based combat type game, sort of like almost like Mass Effect 3, just but still a lot of those first-person shooter elements in it. And it kind of seems like they are doing that with the squad-based system. I think that's going to be really cool and really innovative for how the Halo campaign plays through now, how you can switch between different characters on each team. Even though you're not going to be able to customize your own Spartan and play as your own Spartan, I think this is going to give the game a lot of replayability as you can go through and play the campaign as each character in each fire team. I think that's going to be pretty neat. And I do hope, obviously, like for PvP and if they do some co-op, that you will be able to create your own Spartan, obviously, with the customizable armor and everything, like you could in Halo 4, like you could in Halo Reach, because I think that's a really great part of the games. And that's why I'm saying I would really hope they do add in another Spartan Ops type game mode. I know Warzone is going to be somewhat like that, similar to War Games on Infinity, but I really hope they do put in something like Spartan Ops, which is really great in Halo 4. It was almost like having your own secondary campaign to play through to show what was going on the other side of the story, with lots of great cinematics and just you getting able to take part in the adventure yourself. So that was pretty cool. So definitely looking forward to Halo 5. Like I said, we got a lot of great stuff in this new trailer. I'll link to the trailer down below so you guys can go check it out. and see it for yourself if you haven't already. But like I said, trailer looked really, really good. So a little bit more excited for Halo 5. Again, I'm not getting into the hype too much because I don't want to, I'm kind of past that age where I really get super excited for games where I'm going to pre-order and have to buy them. I'm definitely going to wait and see. We've just been, the last 2 years for me have just been so bad for video games. So many expectations that were not lived up to. So many games that failed to deliver. So I just am of the mindset anymore that I wait till it comes out, check out the reviews, check out the gameplay myself, and then decide if I'm going to pick it up. But hoping that Halo 5 is going to be really good. But moving on from that, I wanted to talk about another game that I'm looking forward to. You guys have heard me talk about a couple of times, and that is No Man's Sky, which is coming out for PC and PlayStation 4. And if you guys haven't, if you've been living under a rock and haven't really seen much about No Man's Sky, you basically start off on a random planet. You're a space explorer, and you have to go around and collect resources and ships and all kinds of cool stuff. And you basically are just exploring the universe. Now, your goal is to get to the center of the galaxy, uh, but you can take your time getting there. The game's got like 18 quadrillion planets and all this other stuff. It's this huge galaxy you can explore. You can go to any planet. You've got warp drive, hyperdrive, all this cool stuff. And it's basically, at its core, I'm going to say like an exploration type game. And there's really not a whole lot of hand holding with the game. It's just you go out, you explore, you find things, and there are consequences as well. You can die, you can get stranded on planets until you build up enough resources to purchase another ship. But you can check everything out. It looks really awesome. I strongly encourage you guys to check out No Man's Sky, especially if you like exploration type games. If you're a big sci-fi fan, it looks really good. But one of the main things a lot of people have been clamoring for with No Man's Sky has been a release date. And this game has been hyped up at a couple of game shows. It was at E3 this year, and Sean Murray, who's the head guy of the Hello Games, who's making the game, basically said he couldn't comment on the release date. They had wanted to, I guess, bring the release date out at E3. They've been rumored the game's going to come out in late 2015. Of course, we are getting kind of late in 2015. It's kind of amazing. It's already September, so we've only got a few more months left in 2015. So if it's going to release around the holidays, you'd think they would have said something by now. But I'm starting to think that no news is bad news, and that this game is probably going to get pushed back to 2016 sometime, just because it is so late in the year and we haven't heard anything yet about it. Now, I did do a little bit of research and things, and I found out a reason that the game maybe is having, I don't know, they're having such a hard time getting a release date for the game. And basically, there is a company over in the UK, which is where Hello Games, the studio is, and it's their country of origin and all that. Now, they have to file trademark claims and things for the name of the game. And there's a company in the UK called Sky PLC, and they're apparently like this internet streaming storage type company, and they're owned by 21st Century Fox. And it's actually kind of funny because this company's been in the news before, because it was because of them that Microsoft actually had to change the name of SkyDrive to OneDrive. If you guys use the Xbox to upload stuff, if you use any of Microsoft products, you probably have used OneDrive. It was actually called SkyDrive when it first came out. Now, this Sky PLC company has trademarked a bunch of names with Sky in them, and they're apparently very, very aggressive when it comes to enforcing trademark. And they will go after anybody for this trademark. They've gone after Skype, and apparently they're going after No Man's Sky, saying you can't use the word Sky in your title because it's too similar to our products. It's pretty much just them trying to be bullies, and I don't think anything major is going to happen from this. In fact, Hello Games, if they wanted to, despite these trademark issues and claims, could still release this game and just work that out afterwards. But it would appear to me that as a smaller studio, as an indie developer, it looks like they're trying to get all this worked out before maybe they get the release date out. And of course, they're paired up with Sony on a lot of this, so hopefully Sony's helping them out. But again, this would not prevent them from releasing the game, but I'm thinking they, as a small studio, like I said, they just want to make sure there's no problems and no issues before they give us a release date. But that's what they're dealing with over in the UK. Apparently their trademarks are good to go here in the United States, but they have to have them obviously taken care of wherever this game's going to come out, obviously where their studio is. So it's just very interesting that this is happening, and it kind of sucks too with this game because obviously a lot of us are looking forward to it. And as I said, this may not be the main reason the release date has been pushed back, but considering Sean Murray said that he couldn't talk about it, that leads me to believe it's probably due to legal issues, which is what this would fall under. And obviously he doesn't want to air any of that out in the press, or that he's probably not supposed to talk about it. So That is really the only news recently I've seen on No Man's Sky. We unfortunately have not been getting a whole lot with this game, and hopefully that's going to change soon. Because, like I said, this is one of the main games I've been looking forward to since it was announced. So, really, really hoping they eventually are going to give us some news on this game. Now, moving on to another game that's kind of in the similar light as No Man's Sky. I actually found this game kind of randomly as I was watching some No Man's Sky videos on YouTube. It was kind of in the sidebar. It's a game called Solus Project. And this is a kind of first-person exploration sci-fi type game. And they had a link there, and it was for 8 minutes of the gameplay that they revealed. And I watched it. It was really impressive. Really good graphics. The game looked really good. It had all kinds of dynamic weather and comets impacting the planet and tornadoes and spaceships crashing and everything. It looked really awesome. And there was some exploration there. The guy was going through looking for parts from his crashed ship. He was going through these tombs, trying to find shelter from this tornado and this torrential downpour and thunderstorm and things. And it looked really, really great. So I started to research into this game a little bit because I'm, like I said, a huge sci-fi fan. And so I found the website, obviously, for the Solus project. And it's a game where it's a single-player survival and exploration type game. It's going to be for PC and Xbox One. They have not announced anything for PS4 yet. So it's kind of funny because No Man's Sky is going to be PC and PS4. Solus Project is going to be PC and Xbox One. And while this isn't like a No Man's Sky where you explore the galaxy, it is similar because you're exploring one giant planet, basically. And it's going to be coming out sometime Q1 of 2016. It's a single-player exploration and survival experience. It will be first person. It's going to be using the Unreal Engine 4, and it's set on a mysterious and uninhabited alien planet. It looks pretty cool. And the background is Earth is on the brink of destruction. You're sent to explore a distant planet that was found, and after several years of traveling through space, you arrive to the planet, but there's a problem. Something happens with your ship, and there's a crash landing. Your entire team is basically wiped out. The ship you came on crashed, and it's scattered all across the planet's surface. You have no way of calling home for help. You have no way of even knowing if Earth is still doing well. So this kind of reminds me a little bit of the movie Interstellar that came out recently, where they sent basically teams out into the galaxy through a wormhole to try to find a new home for Earth, which was dying. And that was one of my favorite movies that I've seen probably of all time. It was really just a great sci-fi movie. So this sounds a lot like that. It's very intriguing to me. So basically, you're going to be able to explore this new planet. They said there's different tombs, there's caves that you'll use to travel between islands on this planet, and secrets upon secrets, all kinds of things you will find. There's a fully dynamic environment. There's going to be day-night cycle with dynamic weather, and they showed that in the actual trailer. There was actually this huge thunderstorm came up off the ocean, and then there was all this lightning and pouring rain, and a tornado formed out of nowhere, and they're saying there's going to be earthquakes and storms, and plants will respond to the climate. There's going to be ocean tides. The game will calculate temperature, humidity, and wind, which will affect your player. Like they said, all kinds of crazy things are going to happen. Like if your guy gets wet, he's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to affect how you play. There's extreme climate, meteor strikes, lightning, and then there's dark secrets buried beneath the surface in these tombs that you will explore. So pretty cool. And just going into some more information, the depth of the game, they're saying plants will grow and rot. Ocean tides will change based on the moon and where it is. Your body will respond from everything to getting wet to a lack of sleep to walking uphill to the humidity. So this sounds really amazing. Hundreds of upgrades you can find, tons of secret areas with more secret areas upon secret areas inside them. Basically, if you die, that means the end of mankind. And they say your goal is to try to rebuild a communication device by scavenging items you find around the world and from your own ship that crashed. And you could be a pioneer, an archaeologist. You're exploring this mysterious planet at the same time while you're trying to figure out a way to contact home. And they say there's many kilometers of alien islands, caves, and tombs. And I never played this game, but they say it's a spiritual successor to a game called The Ball by the same universe, same backstory, and this was made with the Unreal 3 engine before. So pretty cool. The game looks really good. It's going to be set in the world Gliese 6143C. It's a harsh, barren planet covered by a vast, lifeless ocean. Days are 113 degrees Fahrenheit, and nights are below 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's set on 5 islands with a shallow sea, and you'll be connected through a series of caves you'll be able to travel through while you explore and check out these megalithic tombs and your spaceship debris, which is scattered all over the planet. So this sounds really good. And they say you can play the game as you wish. You can be super hardcore and try to finish it really quick, or you can just kind of go around and take your time. So that's kind of similar to No Man's Sky as well. And they said there's very little hand-holding, no obvious enemies. It's just you all alone by yourself. You have to figure out what to do. And they say that is from their fond memories of games that were made 10 to 20 years ago when there was less of a hand-holding system, no tutorials and stuff. You kind of had to figure out how to play the games on your own. So I actually love that. I'm an old school gamer. I grew up playing Atari and NES and Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, all those great old, what I call golden age systems of video gaming. And it's kind of funny. I know a lot of people these days, they don't like it when games don't hold your hand. It's like they think it's too hard, and I personally think it's kind of funny because as I grew up playing a lot of those games, I love having to figure out things on my own. I love not having the hand holding. It can be frustrating at first, but there's more satisfaction when you actually figure out how to play the game and how to be successful at the game. And I think that's really great that they're doing that. So that's definitely really fun. And No Man's Sky is doing the same thing, and I think we need more of that. It provides a more intellectual experience. It requires you to think a little bit more outside the box, question things when you're playing the game, like, oh, should I go over here? Should I check this out? Do I need to go back and check out this thing? And too many games nowadays, there's so much hand-holding, there's so many tutorials, it basically tells you everything to do in the game. And it really can water that experience down. And I know that gaming in general is shifting to a more of a mindless format, in my own opinion. You've got all these mindless mobile games now that have millions of people hooked on them. You see a lot of that moving into video games now, where there's just so much hand holding and so much, making it so easy for the more casual player to experience it. And I personally don't really like that as much. As I said, I grew up playing in that great age of gaming, and I really enjoy the challenge of having to figure things out. So I like that they're doing this. So very, very interesting game I came across. I'll leave the links below so you guys can check out the Solus project. I think if you're a fan of first-person survival, if you liked Alien Isolation, for example, or if you just like that type of game, this won't be survival horror, but it's like survival. It looks pretty awesome. And as a sci-fi game, it looks really good. The graphics look amazing, and this is only going to be next-gen and PC, which means we'll get the full, hopefully the full 1080p, 60 FPS, and all the good specs on it. So it looks really good. It's being published by Grip Games, who is privately owned and developed. They're another smaller studio. They're actually based out of the Czech Republic. So very cool things, guys. Very cool games coming up. Looks like finally the end of 2015 and start of 2016 looks like we're going to start getting some better next-gen games and some good PC games and things. So very exciting times finally to be a gamer. One of my personal complaints about this current generation, instead of calling it next gen, I'll call it current gen, is that I've actually have both PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and to me they are just basically really expensive Blu-ray players right now. They sit around, and that's really all I use them for, is to watch movies and Netflix. There have not been many great games out, for me that I was interested in. There have been some good titles like, Witcher came out, obviously, but they're just games that I really haven't been interested in. And I know there's been some good titles, and some people probably have some next-gen games, current-gen games that they really love, but I just personally have yet to find anything. And it's just been kind of annoying because I'm like, I got these two super expensive gaming consoles, and it winds up they're just like as useless as a VCR so far. I've been playing my Xbox 360 a lot, even through the last 2 years. I still play a lot of my old Halo games. I still play a lot of Mass Effect, obviously, and I've still got some Halo, or not Halo, but some Xbox 360 games I still have to go through and play. I have a couple of Gears of War games I haven't ever touched. I need to go through and play those. I've got the Deus Ex game that I need to play. So still a lot to go on Xbox 360. I'm kind of wondering why I even bought the next-gen consoles in the first place, because they just have not been all that useful for me. So obviously Halo 5 in October may finally get a next-gen game on the Xbox One. We'll see how that works out. But yeah, so I'm kind of glad we're starting to get more next-gen only games, as much as I hate to leave behind the older systems, because there's a lot of classics on those. I think the only way the current generation of consoles is going to succeed if we eventually get these publishers to start making games only for the new consoles. And of course, one of the problems with that is they're leaving so much money on the table if they don't make a game for the backwards console. And that's what a lot of people don't seem to understand, is not everyone is switched over to next gen. to Xbox One and PS4. The cost is obviously a big factor. There haven't been a lot of great games. A lot of gamers are turned off by what's going on with gaming lately, which is basically companies putting out a full price $60 game, and it's all a big watered down experience with a ton of DLC you have to wind up buying down the road. And there's a lot of gamers who are not happy with the current state of things, so they just haven't purchased the new systems. They've kept their old systems and just enjoyed those, and I can see why. Like I said, my primary game system that I play is Xbox 360. Even though I have both the PS4 and the Xbox One, I've not played them much at all. Really, like I said, most of my playtime is on Halo. It's on Mass Effect. Now, Xbox One is going to be doing the backwards compatibility. We haven't heard much about that since E3. They are testing it out right now, and they're going to start bringing up a lot of those 360 games to the Xbox One, so that may encourage some people to finally switch over. But, that's one of the things, is a lot of people are still on the old systems, and the big-time publishers like EA and Activision, they're going to want to have the games made for both generations. And you're seeing that affect Destiny a little bit in the way it's not, they keep saying that's an excuse for why they can't do certain things in the game because it's still stuck with the next gen. But the thing is, I see a lot of people with Destiny saying, oh, Destiny 2 is going to be next gen. Well, it's in Activision's contract with Bungie that Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 are both going to be cross-platform, cross-system. So they're going to be on 360 and PS3, even with Destiny 2. So you Destiny fans really shouldn't get your hopes up too much. Unless they change that in the contract, which they have not as far as I know, they're still going to be making that for both systems. And the reason is they don't want to miss out on all that money, because there's a ton of people still on 360 that are going to buy the game if they put it out. They're not going to make a lot of sales if they leave out the 360. That's one of the things I was going to give 343 a lot of credit for, is they are taking a big risk only making Halo 5 for next gen, because there are a ton of Halo fans who are still on 360 who have not bought the Xbox One, and so they're basically leaving out that entire population for the game. They're missing out on all those sales for the game, and so I guess that they're taking a bit of a risk, and kudos to them for doing it and finally bringing us a full next gen experience for Halo. It does suck though that the split screen co-op is not going to be there, and again, that's another thing where I say 343 often has this disconnect with the Halo community by taking out some of these old school Halo features. But I did a separate video on that. I'm not going to talk about that now. I've been rambling long enough here, guys. But anyways, guys, I hope you're having a great Friday. Please let me know in the comments below what games you're looking forward to coming up at the end of this year and also for the start of 2016. I know we've got a lot of good titles seemingly coming out. And let me know what about the games that I was talking about. Let me know if you guys have checked out Solus Project and what you think about it. I think it looks awesome. I'll post, like I said, the gameplay link down below for about 8 minutes of gameplay in that game, so you guys can check it out. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Like I said, hope you're having a great day. Hope you have a great weekend. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again next time.